Jeremiah is the second of the great prophetic books. Although Isaiah has more chapters, Jeremiah is actually longer than Isaiah, though it covers a narrower period. It kind of fits in between Isaiah 1 to 39 and Isaiah 40 to 55 in terms of the historical context to which it relates. Jeremiah himself lived a century after Isaiah, at the end of the period when the Assyrians are causing trouble to Judah, and the beginning of the period when the Babylonians have come to be the superpower. So in one sense the political situation is very different. In another sense it's exactly the same. It's just that Judah has passed from the overlordship of one superpower to another superpower. And Jeremiah lives in the period in which, in the end, the disobedience of Judah to Yahweh and the resistance of Judah to Babylon and its rebelliousness in relation both to God and to the superpower issue is an issue in its downfall. It's a thrilling story that you can read about in Jeremiah. There are a lot of stories about Jeremiah in the context. Again, the book is not organized in a way that makes it easy to read chapter to chapter, but when you read any one individual story, they're very exciting. I love especially the one in chapter 36 about how Jeremiah writes down all his prophecies and the scroll with them on gets taken to the king, and the king who is sitting in Jerusalem in the cold of winter, it can snow in Jerusalem in the winter, is sitting in front of a fire, and as Jeremiah's agent reads off the scroll, the king snips off the scroll chunk by chunk and drops it into the fire. But then the story ends with Jeremiah writing it all again and adding some more. I bet he did. Jeremiah is a guy then who experiences people's resistance to him, the kings especially, but also the people's. And Jeremiah has a tough time in his ministry and often wishes he could get out of it. He's not a guy who volunteered to be a prophet as Isaiah did. He's a guy who tried to get out more than once of being a prophet but failed. And failed to a fair extent through his ministry, and ends up being dragged off to Egypt by people who'd got no business to be going there. So that his story in that sense is a gloomy one, you could think, and yet at the same time an encouraging one, because this is a guy who carries on doing the faithful thing, and whose faithfulness receives its reward not least in the very fact that we are reading his stuff 2.5 centuries later. Nobody's going to be reading my stuff in 2.5 centuries' time, but we are still reading Jeremiah's, and we're still learning from it what it means to be the people of God. Jeremiah.